Welcome back to the program. Joining us now is Democratic candidate for the 16th Congressional District, Derickson Lawrence. Mr. Lawrence, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you, Gary, for inviting me.
Let's talk about experience. Now, Congressman Engel has obviously been in office for 3 decades, one of the most experienced senior members in Congress. You don't have that kind of experience, but I know you feel strongly about your own experience. Talk about how that plays and would play if you were elected to Congress.
Certainly. I have experience certainly within the business community and working there for the last 30 years. Starting initially as an engineer with Hughes Aircraft, building missile systems, but also transitioning to Wall Street and working with MBA, and specifically the big 6 firms, the Gartner Group, KPMG, management consulting with the Fortune 500 entities. Mm-hmm. And so that type of experience does translate into working in government. I've also, while working as a full-time banker right now as a CEO, I have been working within the community as an activist and been doing so for a significant amount of time, solving problems within the district. And so I think that experience translates well because many of the programs that I've started are showing results and lifting lives and improving lives in the district.
Mm-hmm. Why don't you talk about one of those, either a problem that you have solved or a program that you're proud of that does do good work in the district?
Surely. Again, it's something that I'm very proud of. It's one is education. It's an issue that I believe we all we are all concerned about, and we are trying to find ways to deal with it. It's students with learning disabilities. One of the things I was able to do 3 years ago was reach out to an entity named Apple Computer. And
I think we've all heard of it.
You've heard it, yes. And the reason I chose Apple was at the time not because they had the biggest name, but I thought it would make an impact on our superintendent in a way that they would say, okay, here's an organization that can have an impact on the educational institution. So essentially, he was able to bring them into our school district, formulate a plan, and deliver it in a way where we had professional development for the students, well, for the teachers, and bringing it to students that were really underperforming on the several levels, if you will.
For a variety of reasons. If you say it was students with disabilities, there could be any number of reasons.
Correct. So those are the highest cost students to educate. Obviously, when you look at the numbers, that sometimes skews the numbers for the district. But we felt if we could move the needle there, that would be significant. And so what we ended up doing was trying to change the process of learning by leveraging technology in a way that it went from a teacher-focused initiative to a student-focused initiative. And so we were able to reach students where they are by leveraging the technology to adjust to each student.
Do you think that could be applied in a more general way throughout the district? I mean, we were talking earlier, you have worked and lived and worked in Mount Vernon. People of the Bronx would be interested to know that this kind of thing could be applicable here as well.
Certainly, and that's the reason we did that. The idea was to actually develop a proof of concept. Choose students that are significantly challenged in every way and demonstrate with some technology that's tailored to their needs can actually improve metrics. And they're basic metrics, whether it's issues of attendance, having kids engage them, whether it's issues of time on task. So there are a number of general metrics we can use, but really seeing students perform in a way where they become independent learners, I think was something to walk away with and holding our heads high.
The debate in Washington and across the country over health care is not insignificant. It is, frankly, largely unsolved. People who did not like Obamacare feel that, we don't have to go through all the particulars about it, but the problems that are in Obamacare have not been solved. And certainly on the other side, the agenda to eliminate Obamacare never happened. Where are we at with health care? And if you were a Congress member, what would you do to try and move the needle forward that would be useful?
Certainly. Well, the ACA right now is on life support. There's no question that the Republicans have had a significant impact in terms of taking away its foundation. And it continues to limp along. Just recently, we've heard the most prized asset of the ACA, which was ensuring that you had pre-existing conditions. That, in fact, the last bastion of it is being attacked today, and our Justice Department is not defending it. So when you have a sitting department not defending something that's law, then we have an issue in our country today.
How do we correct it, and what would you do to influence that?
Well, we need alternatives. So New York State has one set of alternatives, which is the New York State Health Act. My version of that was something somewhat unique. It's focusing on prescription drug prices initially. I think if you're going to do the Health Act, you have to find an implementation plan. So you begin with lowering prescription drug prices. It's something that I've done, not done, but brought in New York Medical Society, New York State Health Associations, essentially bringing organizations together to find a solution. So what I'm talking about is what emanated out of those discussions. So specifically what we have is, there are two things. Okay. One part of it...
Move it forward because we want to get to some other items.
Certainly. One part of it is we learned that sometimes the copay is more than the price. That is, if you have a copay of $40 and the price of the generic drug is actually $5, somebody's clawing back the other $35. It's wrong. It should not be happening. And I was able to get legislation in, meaning sponsored at the state level and the assembly level, to actually change that. So we think that was a significant accomplishment. The second part of that is ensuring that New York State can have its own dispensary to compete with the status quo, and I think that is going to help us lower prices. Mm-hmm.
Talk to me in general about the district. There really are two distinct parts. I mean, people of the Bronx are very unified and somewhat patriotic about their status as Bronxites, and yet a large part of the district is north of the Bronx. Talk to me about how you see that. Do you kind of look at it differently, that people in the Bronx have kind of one kind of issues and people elsewhere others, or do you see it more as a unified issue and a unified problem?
Actually, the question here is, how do you view the 16th Congressional District? Yes, you have the boundaries because you have two counties. But when you look at the challenges, they are really the same when it comes to underperforming schools, when it comes to gun violence, when it comes to issues of healthcare and needs of the people. So I don't see a distinction. I see people who are looking for answers to some of the same solutions. And one of the reasons where the proof of concepts in terms of the initiatives that I've engaged, the idea is to leverage that on a grander scale to help both folks in Westchester and in the Bronx who are going through similar crises.
We got about a minute left. Talk to me about one of the most difficult dialogues in America, and that is over guns. The people who are for guns rights, they're holding firm in what they believe, and of course people who want gun legislation reform are also saying time has come. How do you resolve this and do things that I think we all would like to see fewer people get killed?
Certainly. Well, Gary, I'm pleased to be associated with the narratives of actually taking guns off the streets. I believe that any gun taken off the streets can save a life, and we've pursued that. I believe there are ways to pursue this initiative in a way that respects the Second Amendment. I'm also pleased to be associated with engaging young students, high school students, to get their perspective on where to go with that. And one of the issues that came up in the debate we had just recently was that we could look at two areas. One is incentive ideas to give guns back, and two is court ordered, because the real issue for us is what's happening today.
We're about out of time, so finish that thought.
Okay. So there are ways to get it done. It's a crisis that needs to be solved, and I think getting guns off the streets, having them turned into incentives, or through court orders are tangible ways to go to save lives.
Derickson Lawrence, thank you so much for joining us on BronxNet Television. Good luck the rest of the campaign and, of course, on Election Day. We appreciate your time. Thank you for joining us. And we and you will be back right after this.